This week on the WHS Sports Show, we gave you the normal rundown.
That being score recaps, the schedule ahead, college football, and NFL football. The Rocks football team is now 5-3 with their recent win over Fishers, 28-17. This game was a defensive slugfest in the first half as both teams jogged into the locker room tied at just 7 apiece. In the second half, both offenses picked it up a little bit, but Cole Ballard specifically was the X factor in this one. Ballard had a solid outing in the air, but on the ground is where he really earned his money. 11 rushes, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a whopping 9.9 yards per carry. This game should be a confidence booster as they near sectionals against Carmel next week.
Last week, the girls volleyball team came out undefeated with 2 impressive wins over Hamiltonites, which was 3-0, and number 2 ranked Fishers on Thursday on senior night, 3-2. On Saturday, they ended the regular season play with a loss against Wapahani, 3-1. The girls start sectionals on Saturday the 15th. They either play HSE or Carmel.
Cross-country sectionals began on Saturday at Noblesville, and both teams started off hot. Boys finished second behind Sam Hines' record-breaking time, and the girls finished third. Lots of great performances all around by the Running Rocks.
The state of Indiana was nearly perfect this weekend in college football, having 4 out of the 5 major teams win on Saturday.
Well, who's lacking?
Who do you think?
IU.
Yeah, gosh, you're so smart. Indiana took yet another loss this season, this time falling apart against Michigan. J.J. McCarthy and his infinite wisdom passed for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns against a struggling IU team.
Ball State took a close but much-needed conference win over Central Michigan 17-16. John freaking Paddock, as Evan calls him, passed for a slim 122 yards and a touchdown, but the real attack came on the ground. Carson Steele rushed for 124 yards on 28 carries and moved the Cardinals down the field every single scoring drive. After a rocky start for Ball State, they're back at 500.
Moving on to bigger teams, Purdue won against Talia, turned the ball over, and the Maryland Terrapins 31-29. Aiden O'Jesus had 360 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns. Payne Durham was on the receiving end of those 109 yards and 1 of those touchdowns. Not much you could say, just a good game and a great win.
Speaking of great wins, Notre Dame had one of their own. In the 28-20 upset win over number 16 ranked BYU, the Irish QB Drew Pine threw for a nearly perfect game, throwing 22 for 28, 262 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Michael Mayer, the tight end, was Pine's target of choice, going for 11 receptions, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns of his own. The rushing looked solid too, as Audric Estime and Logan Diggs both had over 14 carries and 90 yards each.
Lastly, Butler won. Who knew that basketball schools could be good at football too? The Bulldogs shut out the Flyers of Dayton 31-0 on a big win on Saturday. Brett Bushko, which is the name of the week in my opinion, had an insane stat line, totaling 25 for 29 completions, 338 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Get this, he was also the leading rusher on the Butler Bulldogs, racking up 10 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown on the ground as well. Tyler Adams, Bushka's main target, amassed 4 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown. With this win, Butler advanced to 3-2 on the season.
Some quick national headlines for you guys. Kansas took their first loss of the year to TCU in a 38-31 thriller. Texas demolished Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry 49-0. After a 42-20 victory this past weekend, James Madison became ranked for the first time ever in school history. Iowa showed us that they are not good, losing to a now ranked Illinois team 9-6.
Alabama proved that they need Bryce Young to win. Georgia didn't look like Georgia despite winning by 32, and Cincinnati still has not lost a home game since 2017. Compared to the first 5 weeks of football, this is actually just pretty calm and tame.
Turning over to the NFL, we're going to talk about the overrated, the underrated, the just right, and the panic mode.
Our overrated teams are the Vikings, Bucks, Rams, Giants, Chargers, Ravens, and Lions.
Our underrated teams are the Jets, Titans, Jags, Cowboys, Seahawks, Bears, Falcons, and Saints.
Our just right teams are the Eagles, Commanders, Niners, Panthers, Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Chiefs, Raiders, Browns, Steelers, and Texans.
Our panic mode teams are the Colts, who have been here for 3 weeks, Broncos, Bengals, Cardinals, and Packers.
Speaking of the Packers, they took a soul-crushing loss to the Giants, 27-22 in London. Aaron Rodgers did not play like Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers. Somehow, the Giants' subpar defense caused miscues and made Rodgers uncomfortable, and that helped the Giants leap up to 4-1 as Green Bay fell to 3-2. Also, Danny Dimes Jones just might be him.
Hot take incoming. Geno Smith is a dark horse MVP. There, I said it. Smith went 16 for 25 with 268 yards and 3 touchdowns, but unfortunately that was not enough to beat Taysom Hill, who had an unbelievable game. Hill had 1 pass attempt, which went for a touchdown, and rushed for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns. That has been one of his best performances as a dual position player. With the Saints' 39-32 win, they improved to 2-3, and the Seahawks collapsed to 2-3.
Folks, we got to talk about it, okay? The Colts could not have possibly played worse on Thursday. I thought I was being punished for watching the game. The only person who enjoyed watching Thursday Night Football was Pat McAfee. Although the game was boring, the Colts came out of the Mile High City with an overtime win, 12-9.
What is your NFL game of the week?
Honestly, I would say that Saints game was the game of the week. It was high scoring, back and forth. Taysom Hill was just really fun to watch. But honestly, it was a great game to watch. Geno Smith is, as you said, an MVP contender. And I feel like the Saints came out with a really good win.
I would probably have to say I would say the Jets-Dolphins game. The Jets are kind of criminally underrated, I would say. Zach Wilson has emerged as a good QB in the NFL. Garrett Wilson kind of disappeared, but other wide receivers stepped up and gave the Jets the win. And the Jets could be a dark horse to win the AFC East. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us at the Sports Desk.
Stay breezy and go Rocks.